Hello and welcome back to the IDC Tech Talk podcast. As always, I'm your host, Miles Dawson, and today I'm very happy to welcome Jennifer Thomson to the podcast. Hello, Jen.
Hello.
Jen, could you give our listeners a quick overview of your background at IDC and more about your core research coverage?
Sure. I've been with IDC now for about 16 years. I work in our European services team. I'm based out of Milan and I'm responsible for our application development testing and management services research. And I'm also heading up our DevOps practice here in Europe.
That's great, thank you. So today we are here to talk about DevOps. So could you begin by giving us a high-level overview of what DevOps actually is for any listeners that might not be familiar with it?
Absolutely. And this is a really good and fundamental question to address because the word DevOps gets used so frequently in many contexts. And so, of course, this means that there are also multiple definitions and understandings. Generally, it's widely understood that DevOps enables a closer working relationship between software development and IT operations teams. But I think more importantly, it really demands this collaboration with groups that cross quality assurance and testing, security, architecture, and most importantly, and not forgetting, the business. To sum up there, this suggests that DevOps is beginning to touch everything, which in my view is correct, because DevOps works best when it integrates cross-functional teams across IT and the business for the sole purpose of delivering high-touch customer experiences faster. And I think you can kind of imagine if you had been contracted to build a house and the head architect and the customer had been left out of the loop in the initial discussions, then really later on this is going to cause you some major headaches and some major delays. So for IDC, we're defining DevOps as a methodology or a set of practices that unifies this cross-functional team that consists of business leadership, development, testing, operations, and security to be responsible for the creation and delivery of continuous business capabilities. In a sense, we often hear in discussions that DevOps is viewed as the last mile to Agile. So in other words, the benefits of Agile practices can now be extended from software development all the way through to IT operations. So DevOps is not a set of tools or a technology. For us and for IDC, it really is the intersection of people, processes, and technology that aligns with business leadership, culture, and strategy. DevOps should really be the goal and not the starting point because it is a transformation journey. And of course, the path that organizations choose to take is going to be different for each individual organization. I do think that one important thing to say about DevOps success and about the application of DevOps is that it really weighs heavily on the culture of an organization rather than the technology that is chosen to support it. The attitudes and behavior of the people within an organization is going to ultimately make or break its success. So in our view, DevOps is 70% change management and it's 30% about the technology.
That sounds really interesting. So given the context of the market as it is at the moment, why is DevOps so important for businesses at the moment?
Well, I think we're all aware there is this inherent need within organizations today to really focus on balancing speed with quality with customer experience. So at the end of the day, organizations are being tasked to deliver more quality applications faster that drive these enhanced experiences. And on top of this, technology is moving really at breakneck speeds and automation is fueling further demand for applications. So I think it's fair to say that to lead and to excel in this digital economy in which we're living really requires faster response, better quality, and more secure products and services. We can just think about some of the leading digital organizations out there. The ones that come to mind would be BBVA, Nordstrom, ING, Amazon, Google. These guys are all utilizing DevOps practices really to deliver speed and quality advantages that are embedded in their product delivery system. I think the bottom line is that digital transformation is board level, and IT organizations now need to really figure out how best to support the business. And as a result, more and more organizations are embracing DevOps practices. There was one CIO that told me, listen, Jen, as a company, we must do a complete technology reinvention, and we need to do it at speed to align with the business model, because if we fail to do so, the company also fails.
So, I mean, you've talked about the importance of DevOps there, but my interest is, are people using it as much as we'd expect? And how are those people using it in the most effective way?
I think that, we're past the hype of DevOps, and we're really moving into implementation. Across Europe, IDC is really starting to see the rise of what we can describe as a DevOps-driven enterprise. In the research that we've been conducting, we find that 3/4 of large European enterprises now claim that they've adopted DevOps in some shape or form. And while the operational models and the technology investment strategies that support it are still evolving, we're really starting to see and witness this widening gap between the enterprises that are in experimentation mode versus those that are well versed in the benefits and rapidly deploying DevOps to accelerate business change. And in fact, in every conversation that we have with IT leadership teams and with executives, then every single one is interested in either using, expanding, and just accelerating DevOps practices within their organizations. It's kind of really important just to take an example. A really good one is Allianz, the insurance company, as their story is really interesting and it's very, very recent. The company basically wants to become digital by default, and they have openly underlined the vital role that DevOps and cloud is playing and will play in this change program. The aim for these guys is to offer high quality, personalized, data-driven digital experiences tailored to customer needs. And the company really embarked on this full-scale DevOps and cloud transformation journey. And it's bringing the software and technical delivery capability in-house, and it's modernizing skills and technologies to create change and deploy software at speed. Now, alongside the technological upgrades, Allianz has also introduced DevOps and continuous delivery engineering practices across this pipeline to be able to establish this new and scalable operating model. And importantly, it is empowering the developers in terms of knowledge, resources, and support to create digital experiences for customers instead of having these siloed development teams. It's really creating co-located, cross-functional teams to make collaboration the natural way of working.
It's interesting how you mentioned about how the public and the users are demanding more agile delivery of apps, demanding more updates quicker and patches faster. I mean, I think it's all linked in with the consumerization of IT, because as people have got their iPhones with the Apple App Store, which fundamentally, in a sense, is a DevOps platform, because you get the software development kit that you develop the apps with, then the App Store itself is essentially a release management tool that updates apps as it goes. And so people have an expectation of a speedy kind of delivery of technology these days. Are there any best practices that you can share that organizations can take on board to help them accelerate their adoption of DevOps?
Sure. I think there are a number, and certainly for companies like Allianz, the transition to full DevOps operating models involves not only a shift in how they work and the technologies that they're using, but also a mind shift or a mindset shift. So when starting the DevOps journey, organizations have to realize that they need to change their ethos, their culture, the way they work, and the way they operate. There's also this need to bring in continuous integration, continuous deployment, and continuous delivery. And this can be a really long journey. It's interesting because over the last 2.5 years that I've been looking at the DevOps marketplace in Europe, and the numerous conversations and workshops that I've been doing, then there's quite a few best practices that we can go through. But let me share a few of them with you guys today. So I think one of the first ones would be to consider establishing a DevOps Center of Excellence. So in addition to balancing the cultural risk, we find that establishing this Center of Excellence or Center of Enablement really helps to support acceleration. So right now in Europe, we actually found that there's approximately 1 in 5 organizations that have adopted DevOps, that have created and organized unified teams across multiple domains, while there's about 7% that have put in place a Centre of Enablement. And this centre really provides the base from which to share knowledge and lessons learned, and it's really effective in improving in-house DevOps capabilities. I think another one would be to work tightly with the business. So this is necessary because you really need to be able to demonstrate the rapid step change and what it means to them. This really requires kind of bold ambition and convincing sponsorship, and this sponsorship has to be driven by the leadership team. It's really important to bear in mind that DevOps success also requires organizations to get buy-in from other parts of the business, because it's really important to remember that DevOps is not just an IT thing. So following on from that, so you're working tightly with the business. I think one of the important ones is collaboration. So it seems really obvious when we're talking about DevOps, but this is an area that continues to challenge an awful lot of organization. So the selection of the team members can make or break a DevOps project. So it's critical to create this shared accountability so that everybody is on the same page and everybody is measured equally. And then I think on that note, metrics. It's really important to start to define business outcomes. Metrics and measurements are really critical to being able to measure the progress and the success of DevOps projects. And the last one I think that's worth mentioning is leadership. We kind of touched on this, but really transformational leadership is vital. Leaders need to be able to cultivate the following traits. So they need to be able to cultivate the collaboration, which we've talked about, and the ability to break down silos. They need to ensure mutual objectives, which we talked about in making sure everybody's on the same page. They need to maintain the curiosity, so for the teams to keep experimenting and keep learning, and of course they need to encourage a no-blame culture. Companies we speak to underline the importance of senior leaders really getting out in front of the people in their organization and evangelizing this transformation and new ways of working.
Thank you very much, Jen, and thank you all very much for listening as well. Please join us next time where we'll be discussing another topic affecting the IT industry. Please feel free to follow us on Twitter. We're at IDC_EMEA, and you can follow Jen as well. Jen, are you on Twitter?
Yes, I am, and you can find me at jthomsonidc.
Brilliant. And you can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube too. Please search us there under IDC. Thank you all very much, and see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.